Plarail Oliver. One of the rarest and most sought after battery operated Thomas & Friends items ever released. But actually, not really. He was mass produced for 14 years between 1998 and 2012, has been released in multiple countries by a variety of brands, and was even featured in the Roller Coaster Mountain set. But because he was never released here in North America, he has become absurdly expensive online, floating at around $225 to $300 Canadian on eBay. That is a ridiculous price for a piece of green plastic from over 20 years ago. Now, I do have a Plarail Oliver from childhood, however, he's definitely seen better days. He has a pretty shoddily painted face, a missing lamp iron, tacky custom stickers, and overall I'm just not very happy with his appearance. The final nail in the coffin for this model though, is his chassis, as it's completely split in half, and even after trying to fix it, it still doesn't work very well. So that's why after almost 10 years of wanting a new Oliver, I finally bought one. If I'm being completely honest, I think this is one of Tomi's worst Playrail Thomas models. Oliver's massive face, huge boiler, and squashed funnel and cab give this model a very strange and inaccurate look compared to his TV series counterpart. This model also has surprisingly little painted detail and inaccurate black wheels instead of green ones. Like, literally, how did Tomi mess up this bad? Even though I don't really like Plarail Oliver's design, I do think the face looks pretty accurate to the show and features a lot of nice molded details like his lamp irons and whistle. Though Plarail Oliver is riddled with mechanical and cosmetic flaws, I'm still really glad to have him, since he's a very prominent side character and one of my personal favorites as well. But can this model be saved and turned into a Peakrail Oliver? Or is it already doomed because of its design flaws? Let's find out. The first step was taking Oliver apart and cleaning him, since I did buy this secondhand. I then painted the sides of his buffers, since I do that with all my engines now, and it makes them look a lot better. Next I began to paint his handrails around his smokebox with the silver Posca paint pen. After that, I painted his whistle gold and finished the rest of his handrails on the side of his cab and bunker. This is also when I went over his black parts with a Sharpie and filled in the side of his cab roof. Halfway through making Oliver, I decided to make a Peakrail Toad as well, since I had just gotten 2 of the original Tomi Toads in a lot. He was given silver handrails, painted lamps, and I began repainting his roof white. The next step for Oliver was to cover him with masking tape and paint his running board white. I used really thin layers to try and get the paint to apply as smooth as possible. Then I began working on his face, starting with the eyes and mouth. I then started to paint his pupils using a black Posca paint pen until he eventually looked like this. I also touched up some scuffs on his face by using a custom mix of light gray paint. Oliver is really starting to take shape now. Next, I took him outside to prime and paint his wheels. I wasn't happy with the color of green I chose, so I decided to make my own green using a few different paints I already had and hand painted a few thin coats of this. And with the wheels done, Oliver and Toad were finally ready to be clear coated and assembled. And here he is, my custom TS11 Peakrail Oliver pack, featuring Peakrail Oliver, Scruffy, but he's already Peakrail so nothing was done to him, and Peakrail Toad. I am super happy with how Oliver turned out, and I'm so glad to finally have him in my collection. I've been wanting a new one for so long, and it feels so rewarding to see him now in this condition. My favorite parts of this custom would have to be his face and wheels, since I think they're spot on, and I'm very impressed with how close I got the green wheels to match the body. My least favorite part of Oliver is his running board. Even though I tried to use really thin coats, the paint is pretty uneven in some places, so I'll have to improve upon that for my next custom. There are now so many fun stories that I can make featuring Oliver, and I would love to hear which ones you would like to see in the comments below. Overall, I couldn't be more pleased with my Peakrail Oliver and can't wait to use him in future videos. I'm really happy with how Toad turned out as well. I chose the paper face Toad for this Peakrail pack instead of the 3D face Hit Toys version because it's more consistent with my other Peakrail trucks I've made, like Rickety and the ULP van. Oliver looks way better pulling his correct rolling stock instead of those stupid red coaches he originally comes with. Scruffy and Toad makes so much more sense and should have been released this way in the first place. Though still flawed design-wise, Plarail Oliver has an undeniable charm and doesn't look too bad once he's painted up. What do you think about Plarail Oliver, and what would you do to improve him? Tell me in the comments below. That's all I have for now. Join me next Saturday, September 27th, when we take a look at the Postman Percy and Tar-covered James packs released back in July.